All right, so in a previewing ways social 10, anybody know what the Neolithic Revolution was?
Napoleon.
Sounds like Napoleon, it's got an N. Has the word revolution in it, so it does sound like a revolution. So what is a revolution? A revolution is like a change, right? Revolution means change. And when we think of French Revolution, it's usually sudden. The Neolithic Revolution is not going to be as sudden. The Neolithic Revolution is a moment in mankind's history when we went from being nomadic. Nomadic lifestyle is like traditional lifestyle, hunting, gathering, to more settled. Let's make a town. That's the Neolithic Revolution. It's the beginning of like an agricultural revolution where we begin to do things like farming. So at the end of today's class, I'd like you to know what the Neolithic Revolution is. What is the Neolithic Revolution? It's a time when mankind settled down a little bit. We went from being nomadic to being more settled. So this is the beginning of villages and towns, ultimately cities that become city-states and become empires. This is the beginning of history. It begins about 10,000 BCE, about 12,000 years ago. There's going to be a lot of theories about what inspires it, but mostly it's when mankind begins to realize that we can determine where crops grow. So it doesn't have to be that, we're going to go around searching for wheat or barley. We can make wheat and barley grow right here. So instead of moving around looking for food, let's grow our food here. We can capture animals and raise them here. So animal husbandry and agriculture are the big parts of Neolithic Revolution. Now the Silk Road will happen a few thousand years after the Neolithic Revolution. And the Silk Road is basically a network of roads. There wasn't just one road, it was many roads, a network of roads that linked Europe with China. So even though Europeans didn't actually come into direct contact with the Chinese, through middlemen, through Mongols, through Indians, through Arabs, could trade with the Europeans. So the Silk Road was a network of trading routes that linked Europe and China, which is so cool to think. That'd be like if we discovered aliens, right? So we're here on Earth, and through the Martians and the Saturnians and the whatevers, we're trading with the people from Pluto. We've never actually met anybody from Pluto, but we like their stuff, right? So Pluto's a long ways away. We've never been there. So that's Europe saying, like, we've never been to China, but we like their stuff. Guess what stuff they like? Silk. It's the Silk Road. It's not the Spices Road, but we will like their spices too, but it was really silk that we get addicted to. So it is the Silk Road. And yeah, the other two things, maybe I'll just define what a cornerstone is. A cornerstone in building is that initial stone that you lay, and then all the other stones are dependent upon it. So biblically in Scripture, we talk about the cornerstone being Christ, and how Christ is meant to be some kind of role model. Well, architecturally, the cornerstone would be the first cinder block that you put down, and if that cinder block isn't level, the entire structure is going to be off level, right? It's all going to be ruined because the cornerstone was flawed. So what we want to do when we're looking at ancient globalization is when we're looking at the Greeks or looking at the Romans or the Egyptians, say, what's their cornerstone? Why did they build a society? What's the purpose of their empire, their city-state? What's their block that they built around? Maybe a capitalist society is built around this cornerstone of self-interest. Do what's good for you, and that'll benefit everyone, right? Well, what was the cornerstone of the Romans? What was the cornerstone of the Spartans or the Athenians? Something to think about. In a related note, we started that essay, the strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must. And in this unit, in this ancient globalization unit, you're going to see a lot of interplay between the strong and the weak. So there'll be times when empires bump into each other. How do they communicate? Do they communicate solely based upon trying to figure out who's stronger than the other, and then that person gets to determine their relationship? So that's an intro to what we're doing today. I'm not saying we're going to be masters of all those 5 things today. We're going to be coming back to number 4 and 5 again a couple of times. And even number 3 we might come back to again. But we're beginning in the ancient globalization today. And hopefully you leave here knowing a little bit more about it. There's not much on this in the textbook. So the textbook, we're in chapter 5 now. The textbook doesn't really do much with ancient globalization, which I think is it's a disservice, right? Because the textbook seems to make it sound like globalization begins with Columbus, and that's completely wrong. All right, so let's jump in.